Well, welcome to Backstage with Geoffrey Morrissey. I'm your host, Geoffrey Morrissey. We're in the support dressing room at the Sinclair for, I think, the 5th time this week, but the company just keeps getting better and better. I'm joined by Sophie from Soccer Mommy right now. How are you today?
I'm good. How are you?
I'm getting there. It's been a good day so far. So I want to start off with a really interesting sort of quote that I heard in one of the interviews that you did. And it was about anxiety around making music, that people would think that if I started making music, they wouldn't think it was very good, which sort of struck me because the first thing I heard was Bandcamp, first track, Jacob, and it drew me in immediately. So why did you sort of think that from the get-go?
I think mostly just because it was like slow and soft. That was definitely what I started with when I was first recording, just because I didn't have the means to like record drums very well was mostly it. So I couldn't make like loud rock songs. And I just didn't know how to like get to that level of like creating something that was super produced. So I was definitely making more like maybe guitar and vocal only type tracks that were more like confessional, and I just thought that people wouldn't either connect with it, or they would just say it was sad girl music, or they would, especially in a town that was a lot of like rock music, I thought that it would just be seen as like soft and not very cool.
Well, I think that it's getting cooler and cooler by the day. More and more folks are catching on to what's happening there. But there is a ton of stuff on Bandcamp. So what do you think it was about your music that drew people to you and that you were able to sort of sift through the noise and create a sound that was your own that attracted quite a few listeners?
I have no clue. I think it's a lot of the time, I think it was just luck. But yeah, I mean, maybe it's just the fact that I feel like I don't really sound exactly like anyone. I don't really try to like make my music sound like another band, and I really have a hard time like thinking of people I'm inspired by like in a way that reflects directly in the music, just because I don't really think about like who I'm trying to sound like when I'm doing a song or when I'm like, you know, performing or recording a song. It's more just me making it sound how I want it to sound and not really thinking about that.
Who would have thought that being original would give you a totally new fan base?
Crazy.
So you're sort of at this point where it seems like things are really kind of taking off for you right now. So what is the most difficult part of sort of breaking out, coming into this industry, especially, you know, being young? I know that poses its own set of challenges. So what has been the hardest part for you in trying to make this transition into professional music?
I think besides like monetary struggles, just with like touring all the time and not being able to have like a real job that's steady, I think, and just touring is hard to sustain on money. But I think besides that, just like it's very different how people treat you and like talk to you, and it's like it's like kind of strange to have people know you but not know you and kind of think they know you, especially through the internet, like kind of have a relationship with people that you don't really know and be connecting to them in a way that you can't really understand from like your perspective since you're not experiencing it like they are. And it's like really great and everything, but it does sometimes seem like it's kind of makes you, it's like a weird image of yourself being reflected back to you that is like almost like dysmorphic of your own like personality. It's kind of like a weird thing where you don't, a lot of people are perceiving you ways and you're trying to match perceptions, and it's just yeah, definitely a struggle to try to like be yourself without like being too personal with people, I guess. Yeah, I think that was probably the hardest part about starting to get actual like fans.
And then when you do either meet fans that you've had online or meet them after the shows, there is a certain power distance there that I'm assuming there is sort of takes some getting used to, even though you might not be feeling it, you know?
Definitely, yeah, because it's like, you know, you're just a person and they're just people. And yeah, I mean, sometimes it's even just hard to take a compliment in the right way. You're just like, wow, like, oh, you like my music? Like, why? And it's just like it's great, like you love it, because obviously it's great to have people like your stuff and like think you're really cool, but it is like you don't know what sometimes it's hard to know what people want you to be or what they're expecting you to be and live up to expectations when you don't know this person or what they, you know, their vibe, because you talk to people differently based on different like personalities and stuff, and it's just hard to sometimes match the personality people want you to be, like put something up front with every person and like know you're doing the right thing.
Mm-hmm.
like representing yourself correctly to people.
Of course. I can only imagine what that must be like. And then another thing that I can only imagine what it must be like, something you mentioned earlier, touring. I feel like a lot of, especially with the newer artists, people just sort of have this vision of, oh, you're in the studio and you never really get out to the open road, but then you're there. It costs a lot of money. It doesn't feel normal. So how have you been adjusting to that? How do you make the road feel like home for the months and months that you're out there?
Well, it's usually friends, for one thing, that I take on tour. My boyfriend tours with me as my guitarist. And then outside of that, like drums and bass, we usually try to get people we know and are friends with. So it definitely makes it easy to like hang out and try to treat it as like a trip rather than like you're just at work every day, all day, and like you're tired. But yeah, and it's just nice to try to get out and like see the cities you're in. That kind of helps just because it makes it like less of a job and it's more like traveling for fun. And just like, you know, staying with friends when you're out makes it feel a little more homey because you see people, you know, and they show you where to go. Yeah, I think all of that definitely helps. And just like being a team together, you know, when you're touring, just like gotta get along, gotta make it fun for everyone. I think definitely helps keep the morale up, even when you're like low on money, eating like junk food. Just like, yeah, I mean, doing things to make it enjoyable for everybody definitely helps.
Well, nice. And to give a plug to where we are right now, no junk food tonight. The Sinclair is one of the best restaurants. So enjoy a good meal tonight at least.
I'm very excited. I ate here last time and it was very great.
Sweet.
Amazing.
And then so when I was sort of looking into this, I realized that there's only sort of 1 year of class between us. If you were at NYU, you'd be a junior. I'm at a sophomore at Emerson, both purple schools, both art schools in a lot of ways. So asking an elder statesman, what class should I be taking? Or was there one college class that you really loved or one that you wish other people had access to?
I loved recording technology with, I forget my teacher's name. I really wish I could. I usually would know it. I just don't remember it right now. But it was just like the intro to like recording pretty much anything and like waveforms and stuff. And that was just really great. I recorded Allison for that class actually.
Oh, really?
Yeah, that was my final project. And I put on the album. I was like, I'm just going to work on this and turn it in. But yeah, that was definitely like probably my favorite class that I've had just because it was fun and it was like a good learning opportunity that I was actually going to use. So that was definitely a very good elective to take.
Nice, and a damn good final project, and it brings me right into a natural segue. So the record out right now is Collection. It's mainly sort of Bandcamp, sort of taking a look at some of those songs in a new way, but there are two new songs on there, Allison and Outworn. So why did you want to put these on this Collection record and not maybe wait until your sort of debut album, for lack of better words?
Yeah. Well, both of them like could have fit on a debut album, I guess, but I felt like they were more of in a transitional period because the album I'm working on for the debut album is already written, and it kind of is based more around a time period when I wrote a single that I released earlier in the year, and it more connects to those two songs and works kind of around them in a whole like very cohesive album. And I felt like these two were just kind of like, I wrote them first of all like a day apart. So they were just kind of connected to me. And yeah, they weren't really a part of the story I was telling on a debut album, and they were also just kind of a transitional period into writing the debut album. So I thought it worked really well to like put all these old songs mixed with like these new ones transitioning up to this debut album kind of together on like a collection.
Nice. Well, it's an album that's much anticipated, and I read that one of the themes on there is called Wanting to Be Someone That You're Not, which I think is something that a lot of, especially kids in college, can relate to. So how did you come to terms with that? Who you were versus who you wanted to be, and sort of sort it all out?
I think like crushing reality is definitely the way I would describe it. I don't know. I just feel like I was definitely in a period in my life before I went to college where I was trying to be something I wasn't, and I had a long period of kind of realizing that I wasn't something like that I was trying to be, and that I wasn't going to be happy until I tried to be that. And it was kind of like felt like a huge waste of like a lot of time trying to be something and trying to be wanted by other people, that I was kind of reflecting like not my real self. almost by trying to like be wanted by other people, just trying to be something other people would want, and that just wasn't making me happy when it didn't work because that's not really, I don't know, when you're not presenting like being yourself with someone, you can't really connect with them deeply, so it doesn't really work in my opinion. And yeah, it just took me a long time to kind of like get through that and realize I had to like want something myself to like have it work and not just want like an image of something. And yeah, I don't know, it just kind of all went through this progression of like realizing that and realizing I can't just try to be like a person that I'm not and expect to be happy. Because it just, even if I want to be someone who can't be broken or can't be hurt by other people, can't be vulnerable, at the end of the day, whether you want to or not, you are vulnerable. If you're like letting yourself, if you're vulnerable to a person, you're vulnerable no matter how you act. And so it just doesn't really kind of have to come to terms with being yourself and being okay with being vulnerable with people.
It's a perfect way to put it. And then so again, sort of thinking ahead to the new release, what would you say at this point in your career is your musical Achilles heel, the one thing that you really want to improve, the one thing that you really sort of want to work on with this next record?
Definitely like production, I think is the main thing I want to work on. I want it to be like poppy bangers, you know, like, I mean, like I want it to just be like fulfilled in a way that maybe like bedroom pop can't even be, you know, like even if I, record something well, I just want to take it to the next level of like really like making the parts specific to how the song is going to come out and doing things like adding like little things here and there that are just going to like improve the emotional like capacity of the song, I think, and just like kind of make people feel it more. I don't know, make it be, you know, a pop song when it wants to be a pop song, make it be like crushing when it needs to be crushing, just kind of like produce it so that it's higher quality and just more, I don't know, professional, but also just more reaches you emotionally on a deeper level.
Well, nice. It's been awesome to have a chance to interview you. If you could interview someone, who would you want to sit down with and sort of ask them a couple questions?
Oh, wow. Maybe Joni Mitchell.
Oh,
that'd be pretty that'd be pretty crazy. I feel like, yeah, that would probably be a pretty crazy one. That or like Kim Gordon, one of the two.
Oh, those would be
one
two
of the two greats.
Yeah, exactly. I'll be tuning in for sure. And then we were talking a little bit about this beforehand, but what is the one thing that you wish journalists would ask you more often that you had a chance to talk about more in these interviews?
Maybe just more about like the songs. I feel like I get a lot of questions about just my life that are like important. I think that's important to like what came into the songs, but I think it's just more important to ask about like some of the lyrics and stuff. I think it's interesting when people ask about my like writing the song, like a specific song or a part in a song, or yeah, just ask more about like the actual music itself, like in the songs, the writing.
And when you look at Collection, is there one sort of story of how the song or one song on that record was written that like stands out to you? Like that when you look back at it, it's associated with like a very vivid, this is me in my notebook kind of way.
Inside Out.
Inside Out.
For sure. That song, like just blew out of me. I wrote that in like a sitting, and it was just very, like, said what I was thinking, didn't really care as much about rhyming. Just kind of said it and wrote it and pushed it out.
Awesome. Yeah. Well, I'll definitely be revisiting that tonight. This will be the last question I have for you. I know that you have a show to play and fun stuff to do. Who are you listening to right now? Who are some of the artists on your playlist?
Ooh, I have listened to a lot of Sonic Youth. I've listened to Sister and Goo about 20 times in the past like week or two. And Neutral Milk Hotel on Avery Island.
Oh, yes.
I was just listening to that in the car. I was just revisiting it. And I was like, oh my God, this album is so good. Like, I forgot how good it was. And yeah, so those two are big ones right now. And a lot of Liz Phair lately, too. Definitely some Liz Phair.
I feel like, especially with On Avery Island, no one ever thinks to listen to that record. It's always the other one, which I forget.
And I think that one's better.
Yes.
I think On Avery Island is like so much better to me. I mean, the other one's in the airplane over to sea is amazing. I think On Avery Island is crazy.
Well, we're going to end the interview with that hot take. My guest today has been Sophie from Soccer Mommy. Thank you so much for taking the time.
Yeah, no problem. Thanks.